Hey guys, Jonah here, and I'm back on a tool hunt in Belgium. And Belgium is an amazing country with hopefully some amazing tools. I'm in a massive big hardware store, and it's called Brico Planit. It's massive. Let's go and have a look around, see what we can find, and let's see what Belgium's got to offer. Have you ever seen a little screwdriver drill like this? It's like a cartridge reload. You do that, twist the barrel, and then you can engage a different screwdriver bit. That is genuinely a quirky tool. Look how cool that is. It's a 4-volt lithium drill driver with like a reverse and forward direction, trigger grip. That is definitely interesting, that is, isn't it? This just proves that in every store there's always something slightly different. I've never seen that in all the stores I've visited. Some are different everywhere you go, and I think we'll pick that up and have a proper look at it. This is a really cool idea. In all the hardware stores and DIY stores I've visited, I've never seen anyone make these blocks to show the height and then the depth of cut you can do on these miter saws. And as you go up the range, they've gone all the way up to these bigger blocks. And with this one, you can clearly see, you know, that'll cut 300. That's like the maximum depth cut it'll do. And then 80mm height. How much easier is it to visualize what you can cut with that? That is so clever, such a simple little thing. I don't know what it is about the DIY stores in Europe, but they love a big old trough of just random tools. Look at this thing, promo, everything's $5.99, $7.99, but it's all totally mixed. Literally, you'd think that one's full of one thing, maybe split into 2 items possibly, but it's just a full mix of stuff, and you kind of just got to go scooting through it to see, is there anything interesting? And it's always worth a look, because I found a few good bits in these troughs over the years. That's something, I think I saw something similar like that from Leroy Merlin. This is like a utility knife where one blade slides out one way, or you can have a blade sliding out the other way, which is that is pretty quirky. I've only ever seen one of them before. I think that is a little pickup just so I can compare them and see if this one's any better. Always find a quirky tool in a tool trough. You know, you know it's good stuff when it's packed in a trough. Another quirky little item on the shelf here. I've seen these before, but not just on the shelf in a DIY store. This is like a little pump for transferring water, and you can use it with any drill. So you just put a combi drill on here, connect this one up with hose tails, and then you can kind of pump a bucket out, or use like, rather than having a submersible pump, you can just use that. And then they've also got one that'll fit in a standard hose pipe connection. That's pretty cool. If you keep looking, you keep seeing. Here's something quite cool I've not seen before. Dewalt flip drive. It looks like a 1/4" bit driver, but I think it's a little bit bigger than that. And you've essentially got a 1/4" bit holder inside maybe a 3/8 bit holder that you can then flip, and you can have a countersunk drill bit and then like a screwdriver bit, and you can pilot a hole, flip over the bit, screw the screw in. Bit pricey, €68 in here, but it's a pretty cool kit that I've not seen that. I like to find the Dewalt tool I've not seen before in the middle of Belgium in a little DIY store. It's pretty cool, so that's pretty good. And I also like the look of this thing. This is by Wolfcraft, and basically, if you've not got space for a pillar drill or a bench drill, you can actually mount a wired drill in this, and it'll turn it into a bench drill, so you can get a really square hole. You can see there that someone's drilling a 3x2 or drilling a pipe, and it's €50. Pillar drill, to be fair now, you can get them for about 100 quid. But if you've got a good drill you're happy with, and you just want something you can pack away a bit small and put it in a cupboard for a project, 10-year guarantee, I think that's pretty clever, isn't it? Mind you, that's pretty cool. That's like a little jig to make sure you're drilling square holes, just to hold the bit 4, 5, 6, 8 and 10mm. Make sure you drill a nice square hole. They've got a few bits there, to be fair. If you've ever put these kitchen hinges on, these recessed kitchen hinges, you need this forcing a bit, but also getting the exact right position of where you need to drill that hole is pretty difficult sometimes, but if you've got this little jig, you're gonna get it smack on every time. That's pretty cool. I think that is the first Wolfcraft tool I'm ever gonna buy. Cool to see some of the Kubrick boxes. These are really, really good quality. These polycarbonate like lids are so tough, and they're just such smart boxes. So in the UK, we see these as Trend or sometimes Ox Tool Trek. But over in Europe, you do see the Kubrick brand itself quite commonly. Obviously, Kubrick is coming to the UK shores, and I do really rate these boxes. This is also an interesting kind of setup. So you've got like a traditional looking toolbox, but this does integrate with their like Pro range. So you can have a traditional toolbox, but it also attaches to like the top of a rolling stack. I'm always in the market for a new toolbox, so the trick is, which one don't I have? I think this is quite a good one, €20, and it integrates with their Pro system, so it will attach to the other boxes, but it's like a traditional clam shape. I think we can definitely upgrade this egg crate foam with some shadow foam, and then you can have a really nice compact drill case, but it connects to everything else, and you can have a stack of them. €20 at 18 quid, and it's just really tough stuff. All the black Kubrick as well is made out of fully recycled material, so just a great all-round brand, made in Poland, out of recycled stuff, really solid, €18. I think I'll get that. There's something else I've not seen before, especially on the shelf. This is like a TSTAK adapter plate, so you can store all of these. I've seen this before a few times, these TSTAK compatible bit holders, and I've wondered, how's it compatible? How's it work? How does it connect? Well, I've seen it now. This is how it connects. This plate attaches to the top, and then these boxes all fit in. You can kind of see on the back here, it shows they're all stacked in there. So I think that's something. I've got a couple of these. I'm glad I found one of those. Again, until you actually see it in the flesh, it's probably something I could have searched up online if I wanted to. I bet you it's readily available, but who knows to search for it unless you've seen it. So there we go, I think I'm gonna get that as well. It's quite a nice little kit that. It's got 2 ratchet straps, 2 of these, I don't know what you'd call it, like a buckle strap, a couple of bungee cords, 2 long ones, 2 short ones, 2 longer ones, and then I think like a small tarp. So that was Brico Planit. I got a pretty good bag of stuff there, about 4 or 5 items and some really cool stuff. But there's another hardware store not far from here called Hubo. I've got to stop by, have a look there, see what else I can get before we head back to the workshop. Let's go and have a look. It's a pretty interesting tool. I can't quite make out what that is, but it's €11, and I'm looking through everything else I know what it is, except for that. What is that? So I think that might be on the list for a quirky pickup, because I want to see what it is. If it's something to help get nails out, I'm guessing maybe it's to knock the wood down around a nail so you can get out with a claw hammer, but there's nothing on here that's helping me, but it's intriguing, so I'm going to get it. That's what we like to see. Zollstock, Kreator, another brand for the collection, and does it have the print on it? Yes, it does. 9 times out of 10 I pick these up and they don't have any print on, they're just plain. I'm like, oh, you're not really going to be able to tell which one it is, where's it from, but that is a nice little pickup there. Kreator, new tool brand, new Zollstock in the collection, happy days. Let's keep looking. The sign of good quality tools is when they're in a nice little trough. You have to dig through the trough to find them. There you go. If you dig, you will find. That is a carpenter's pencil. Square, classic carpenter's pencil look, but it's plastic with little lead refills. Dig through the trough and you will find a quirky tool. Big, massive potato peeler for peeling jackets. I think that's a jar opener. I imagine that's pretty handy in a toolkit to just have a bolster, but really small, taking up hardly any room. Got a few different ones down here, but I think that is that could be quite useful actually, so I'm gonna get that one. Stanley ratcheting screwdriver, multi-bit ratchet screwdriver. Has it got the bits in the head? Yes, bits in the head. LED on it. Quite expensive in here. €32, like 28 quid, but I think, to be fair, my experience of Belgium so far is everything is a little bit pricier, to be fair. And I'm in Brussels, so pretty much the centre of the city. I think maybe there's a bit of a premium there, but when you find a quirky tool, you find a quirky tool. And that is definitely a little bit different, so I think I'll grab that. This has got like blades in the handle, which isn't too unusual, but then it's got like this grip here to protect your fingers. It's got some hook blades and some straight blades inside it. I think that one is the winner in terms of different. I've not seen a knife with a big old chunky handle on it like that before. I think we'll grab that. Right, so I've got some great stuff from Hubo. Pretty small store list because it is in the centre of Belgium. It's in Brussels, capital, so I think that's more than I can expect. Let's get back to the workshop and I'll show you what I got. Right, so I'm back from Belgium, another successful tool tourism trip. Happy to tell you I've got a top 10 this time. 10 cool bits from not just Brico Planit, but also Hubo, which was pretty different. It was a much smaller hardware store right in the centre of Brussels, but I still found some pretty cool bits, including a Zollstock, you'll be pleased to know, and as always, a toolbox. So this is the Kubrick tool case. This will connect to the rest of the Kubrick Pro boxes, but it's more of like a clamshell design, which is pretty cool. And as you'd expect, we've made a shadow foam insert for it, and I've already put it in the box. That is a lovely blank canvas to organise all of the tools I picked up in Belgium. So as I go through, I'll put a layout together and I'll cut all the shadow foam at the end. You know how we do it on this channel. So let's get straight into it, and I can talk you through the amazing tool finds from Belgium, starting with number 10. So let's kick things off. Number 10 is a utility knife, which I dug out of a trough in Brico Planit. It's always worth digging through the troughs. It's something you don't really see in the UK, that is it? Just a trough of random stuff. But in lots of the different stores in Europe, they'll have this whole trough set up. And I found this little beauty, a two-way knife. And it's something I have seen before, but it was so quirky when I saw it the last time. I thought, I've got to have a look at this, see if it's any different. Essentially, it's a classic utility knife that slides out. But if you flick that little switch there, it'll then slide out the other end. It's a two-way knife. And obviously that gives you the option to have two different utility blades. So this one is kind of preloaded with a hook knife and then a standard utility knife on the other side. But you could switch that to maybe a serrated knife, something like that. But it's quite solid. This was £7.99, so like literally about a £5. And when I first saw this, it was in Dexter in Leroy Merlin in France. And I've got that one here, and you can see the only difference is it's got Dexter engraved on the back. It is the exact same thing. So that's definitely made in the same factory on the same line, and then just got a different logo on it. I've not actually used this one in anger. It's been sat in a drawer, but maybe it'd be worth a try to see if it's just a gimmick or if it's actually handy, you know. It feels a little bit dangerous, doesn't it, to have the ability to have a knife slide out the back, which isn't too good, but definitely quirky in my book. So that is number 10. Let me show you number 9. Number 9 on the list is something pretty cool. I've seen this before, but I've never had one, and that is a Stanley drill-powered pump. Now this thing says it can do 2,500 litres an hour, which I think is pretty beastie. Powered by a drill, can empty like 2.5 full IBCs of liquid, which is pretty mental. It's a pretty simple looking thing. Basically, you attach a hose pipe to this side, put it in a bucket, put it in some fluids, and then it'll like fire it out the other side. You can have that on a hose pipe as well, and it's great for like, if you just need to empty like a sump and your sump pump's broke, you could just use this in an emergency, and it was 15 quid. And the question is it any good? So let's go and give it a test. Right, so I've had to nip home to my garden to give this a test. But what I've done is I've put a standard hose pipe connector on both sides, and then we've got a standard length of hose, bucket of water, connected to a standard combi drill. Handy thing is you have got two mounting points here, so you could actually screw it to a wall or screw it to a board or something to give it a bit more sturdiness, but I'll just hold it. And that's pretty much it really, so let's see how powerful it is. That is pretty good going. I can see why it's 2,500 litres an hour, because that is pretty good. For 15 quid, I think that is a pretty handy tool to just have in your kit or have at your house. Having something like that is pretty cool. It's a winner for me. So that's number 9. Let me show you number 8. So number 8 on the list is a couple of items from a new brand on me, and this was from Hubo, and it's Kreator. The standout was that they had a Zollstock, which puts us at 62 in the collection, and it's got the brand on it, which is what I'm always on the lookout for. A nice Kreator logo, nice and big. But they also had a couple of tools, and most of it was pretty standard. This is like a house brand, I'm guessing, from Hubo. Never seen it anywhere else, and it was all your standard screwdrivers, pliers, spanners, nothing too interesting. This stood out though. This is a utility knife. Got kind of like a bit of a protector for your knuckles, so it's a bit of a knuckle duster and a utility knife. I mean, this wasn't very expensive. It was only maybe like 6 or 7 quid. It's hard to know if there's something else going on with it in the packet because there's no writing on this. You've just literally got a picture of it. But one thing it did show on the picture, to be fair, was blade storage. There we go. So that whole thing pops down and you've got some blade storage in the handle, which is always pretty nice. And then you've got kind of a retractable knife with a quick change. Nothing too special, but definitely an unusual shape. So that was the knife I picked up. And then this thing, I was quite intrigued. What is this? This was quite an intriguing one. I wasn't sure what it was, but I have worked it out. And essentially, it's a little punch for if you're trying to remove nails, but they've gone below the surface. And obviously you can't get the claw of a claw hammer under there. You'll just put this over the top of the nail, give it a whack, and essentially create a little bit of space around the nail, so then you can pull the nail out. It also shows you on the picture using that end as a hammer and knocking nails in. So a bit of a twofer. So that's number 8. Let me show you number 7. So number 7 on the list was an item I picked up from Hubo, and again, this is one of those brands that everyone knows, Stanley. I'd never really expect to find quirky Stanley tools that I've not seen before. Maybe this one slipped by me, and it's a Stanley Fatmax ratcheting screwdriver, which is pretty standard, but I don't really know if I've seen a Stanley Fatmax ratcheting screwdriver, or maybe I've just overlooked it. But this one has got a little button there, and it's got an LED built in, and it wasn't too bad. I think it was about 32 euros, about 27 quid. Now it's out of the packet, I can see that it is a bit janky. Like, a good ratcheting screwdriver shouldn't be doing that. That's pretty mental, to be fair. But it does have bit storage in the head. The other quite unusual thing is, I'm going to use my new knife. It comes with 12 screwdriver bits and only 6 bit storage locations, which is a bit unusual. Because you've also got this little thing here on the back, which I can't get my head around. So this was the piece of plastic that's holding the screwdriver in, and it's got little bit holders on that. But there's no way anybody is going to be storing their screwdriver on there with the screwdrivers attached. That is mental. But someone somewhere, when they were designing this, thought that would be a good idea. You know, put 12 screwdriver bit holders on the back. There's no way on this earth that someone's going to be storing the screwdriver with that. So that's mental. And obviously, considering that in the head, you can unscrew this comes out, and then you can store all 12 bits. That is pretty good, and it actually adds a lot more weight to it. It feels a lot more sturdy. That's no good, though. What is that about? That is just awful, to be fair. Oh. Ah, I'm discovering more and more bits. That is why that's so janky. Right, well, that's interesting. It doesn't say that on the packet. That actually removes. That is not a standard 1/4" bit. That's slightly different. Usually a 1/4" bit has got like a little recess that it will clip into. If I show you a standard 1/4" adapter, usually you have this little reset, this little like inset here. But that's interesting. So it takes standard 1/4" bit adapters, but that will explain why it's so flipping janky, because most ratcheting screwdrivers, that is a fixed shaft in there and it won't come out. But I don't know whether that's a benefit, really. I mean, the LED on it is what made it quirky. It's what made it really interesting to me. I thought that was pretty interesting. It's nice and solid when you take that out. All of this feels nice and solid. But there you have it, pretty quirky. And I had to go to Belgium to find that thing, but maybe you've seen it in the UK. Let me know in the comments. But that is number 7. Let me show you number 6. Number 6 is a pretty simple item from Wolfcraft. Wolfcraft is a brand I look at all the time in Europe. They've got loads of interesting accessories and tools for fitting flooring and doing fine cabinetry, and they've got some really cool bits and bobs, but usually there's nothing that really catches my eye. But very recently I was mounting a kitchen cabinet and it never had the little pocket for the hinge. So the recessed hinge that you have in a cabinet on a kitchen door, it has to be perfectly placed for the hinge to mount and the door to line up properly. I ended up using a combination square and using a standard Forstner bit and just, you know, being very, very careful not to go through the front of the cabinet. So when I saw this, I thought, you know what? That is what I needed. So I will buy it. I can show you guys, and I'll have it for the next time I face this problem. And essentially, it's a little jig to make that whole process of drilling the little pockets for the recessed hinges on kitchen door cabinets really simple. So you have this little jig, which you just push up to the side of the door. You can see the little markings there, and then you've got the exact size Forstner bit, which is 35mm. So this one little kit, which was pretty good value, is all you need to be able to do that job in the future. So I thought that was a pretty cool pickup, and it was about 10 quid, and that is going to save a bunch of time next time I've got that problem. So that's number 6. Let me show you number 5. Number 5 is a toolbox accessory, which I don't usually find. I'm pretty confident I've got most toolbox accessories, and I've got the biggest toolbox collection probably in the world. I've got one of every toolbox, but this little beauty must have slipped by me. They've called it the Stanley Fatmax TSTAK, but actually the Stanley Fatmax is called ProStack here. I don't know, maybe it's different in Europe, but in the UK, it's called the Stanley ProStack system. Also Stanley Fatmax, as you can see, and this is the exact same as the Dewalt TSTAK, and they do integrate together. So you can see here, if I put the Dewalt on the bottom, it's got a slightly different looking latch, but they do latch together. So if you want to save a few quid, you can get the Stanley Fatmax boxes, and they'll integrate with the TSTAK, and as you can see, they're the same. The Black & Decker group own Stanley, and they own Dewalt, they own a load of other companies as well. And then this adapter has the same latches, and it can go on the top of a ProStack box. Maybe it's because it's a new mold, a bit tight, but as you can see, you've got a handle on there as well, which is pretty cool. And these connector cases literally slot in section here, and you can have 5 in a row, and then even the smaller ones for just like the little bit cases, but then they just slot into these top little sections here. So a pretty cool little thing. To me, it feels like a lot of space taken up for basically 5 bit kits and then a few of these. I think I'd prefer to just have them in a drawer or in a box, but interesting to see an accessory, and certainly a new accessory I've not looked at before. Let me know in the comments if you've got the TSTAK system or the ProStack system, if this is looks interesting to you, if this would be something you'd go for. But it's pretty cool nonetheless. It goes without saying, we have shadow foam inserts for all of the TSTAK boxes, including the drawers. So we have shadow foam inserts in a range of different colours and different sizes. These slim drawers would take 30mm, but also the Dewalt and the ProStack have a much deeper drawer. We do a 50mm insert for those, and to be fair, the Dewalt system is one of our most popular selling inserts. People love getting these drawers organised. So that's number 5. Let me show you number 4. Number 4 on the list is probably the cheapest item from Hubo, and an absolute bargain. This thing was £2.99, so about £2.50, and it is a pretty standard looking carpenter's pencil until you realise it's refillable. It's got like a little packet of leads with it, and it doesn't stop there because it's also got a little sharpener in the tip here. So basically this end cap here you can pull off, and then you can move down here and sharpen the end of the refill, which is pretty cool, I think. Problem is sharpening lead, you do get lead all over your fingers, but for £2.50, you've got essentially a carpenter's pencil that is plastic and it can be refilled and you can sharpen it, which is pretty awesome, all in one for £2.50. The idea is far better than the execution. I think it does feel a little bit clunky. Trying to twist that sharpener around the lead, the whole thing is janky and moving around. That's half of the charm of a tool hunt, really, finding really good ideas. The execution, like I say, is not quite as good as it could be, but a premium version of a carpenter's size and style pencil that can be refilled with a sharpener in it. So that was a pretty cool pick for number 4. Let me show you number 3. Number 3 on the list is a French-made tool, and that is from a brand called MOB or Mob. I picked up 2 items from them. The first one is a 240mm long, just solid chisel. And I just thought, I've not seen chisels like that before. Really slimline, quite small, but really weighty and solid. It's got like a little bit more of a stout end on it to hit it with a hammer. And I just thought that is a pretty handy little tool to have in a toolkit, considering how little space it takes up and how good quality it is. So I picked up that, but also from the same brand, Mob, again made in France, this little beauty. It's kind of like, not entirely sure what this is for and what the use case is, but for me, I'm thinking they're selling throwing stars or throwing knives in the flipping Hubo in the centre of Brussels, because I'm assuming it's for like fine carving work, but it's not got a hardened tip, so it's interesting. But for me, it's a throwing star. So that's number 3. The other one's in the wall. Let me show you number 2. Number 2 on the list is a really cool item. This is probably one of my favourite finds, and it could have easily been number 1 if I hadn't found number 1. Now this is the Dewalt drill drive. I actually found it in Brico Planit in a plastic kit, but it was a fortune. I think it was like 100 quid basically. And on Amazon, it was a lot more affordable. I think it was about 20 or 30 quid, and I only needed the actual drive. I didn't need all of the bits and screwdriver bits. Well, let me show you why this caught my eye, because it was a totally new one on me. I've not seen anything quite like it, and I thought I'd seen most things from Dewalt, to be fair. Now we'll put links in the description to this and any other tools that I can find. I kind of always do that, just to help you guys source them if you're interested, and it does help the channel as well because they are affiliate links. Now this thing though really is a bit interesting. If you're doing a lot of work where you need to pilot drill and then drive screws, this thing is a bit adapter. You push this little collar forwards and it releases the bit, but you flip it over, and on one side you've got a standard countersinking bit, on the other side you've got a standard 1/4 inch driver. Now both sides are held in with a grub screw. If you want to remove the screwdriver bit, you just slacken off the grub screw, and then you can pull out the standard 1/4 inch bit, and then you put it in the hole, lock it in, which again I think is quite a handy little feature. If you know that that screwdriver bit's the one you need, you're not going to have to change it, you can lock it in so it can't get trapped inside the screw head. You know, it might speed the job up a little bit for you, and then that can just go into a standard combi drill. And I think that is a pretty novel idea. That's something I've not come across. It's going to make, next time I'm doing one of these big wall panels, usually I'll countersink and screw the back panels on, just so the front frame is fixed, pinned and glued, and if I ever want to change the foam out, I can just remove the back panel, change out the foam, and basically update the panels. So I think next time I do a panel build, that'll be really helpful. And just a cool little item. I think that is a very, very clever design. And it was a fortune in Belgium, but it was much more moderate in the UK. So that is my number 2 pick, a bit of a banger, but let me show you what took the top spot.
In the top spot is a power tool, which I don't usually pick up many of, and that is this screwdriver from Worx, a brand we do know in the UK, but we don't see many Worx items. In Europe, though, I do see Worx pretty much everywhere. They also have a toolbox, which is called the Worx Stack and Roll, and that is the exact same as the key to Stack and Roll, and in America you have the Heart Stack and Roll, which is sold at Walmart. We have inserts for all of those, so if you've got a key to Stack and Roll in the UK, we've got a full set of inserts for every box, and if you're in Europe and you've got a Worx Stack and Roll, it's the same thing, but in orange. If you want to know about toolboxes, which toolboxes cross over, which ones are similar to each other, which ones are the same but rebadged, you're going to love What Toolbox, which is our second YouTube channel, all about toolbox reviews and all of the latest news in the toolbox game. We'll put a link up here to What Toolbox. Go and check it out. We've got videos there pretty regularly, and it's always the latest news. But this is the Worx slide driver, fully reloaded. It's like a revolver screwdriver, basically. It's the only way to describe it. And obviously it's got a European plug, but it is the same voltage in Europe, so we will be able to charge it over here. Looks like it's just a micro USB. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to charge it quite easily. And this thing is like, firstly, it being a trigger grip screwdriver is pretty cool, but it has like a revolver cartridge. You can see here, look at that, 6 different bits, almost like the Shadow Foam auto loader screwdriver, but powered, because you just move this into spot and you twist it round and engage whatever bit you want. So pull it back, twist it round, find the bit you need, push it forward, engage the next screwdriver bit, and it instantly works. How cool is that? And then this little jig on the front, if you wondered, that's to hold a screw. If you're trying to screw a screw in above your head, this thing, rather than having to worry about how strong the magnet is, which some of these magnetic screwdriver bits just don't have any power in the magnet, the screw can be held with this. And as you can see, when it pushes up against the ceiling, it lets go of the screw. So how cool is that? Such a simple little item. And I think that can be removed. You just pull that little clip and the whole thing comes off. So you don't have to have that if you don't want to. But what a cool little item that is. And obviously, it's, as you'd expect, it goes, you know, forward and reverse functions. You've just got a normal trigger. What a cool little pickup that is. I think that is a very unusual tool, something I've not seen before, and a great one to find. So that is my #1 pick, and I've got a rough layout going here. So let me lay all this out, cut all this in foam, and then I can show you how easy it is to get your tools organized. There we go, that is all of the foam cut in, and as always, Shadow Foam is dead simple to use. You just lay out all your items exactly where you want them to go, as you can see I've done here. Cut around the shapes with a sharp knife. I use a scalpel that come in our cutting kits, and cutting kits come free with most orders at shadowfoam.com. And then once you've cut all the way around, you just peel back layers to create inserts for all of the objects, whether they're a big old chunky object like the drill or a very small slim item. You can immediately see if something's missing, so it protects and secures the items. And you can see I've fitted everything in there perfectly, and that is a nice little toolkit. It's a bit random, but there we go. If you want some Shadow Foam, we don't just have inserts for all the major toolboxes, like the Dewalt TSTAK, the Stanley, or the Pack Out, or the Makita, whatever box you've got, we do have inserts. But you can also get medium sheets, a big old 1 meter by ½ meter medium sheet. Starts at £25. We've got a whole bunch of different colours. And as I say, if you spend a certain amount on the website, you'll get free shipping and you'll get a free cutting kit. So thanks very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and you've discovered some new tools from Belgium. Let me know where you'd like to see me travel to next. Are there any cool tool shops near you? Get them in the comments, and I do reply to as many as I can, so make sure you get involved. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.